Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Rich suspects, Carter baffled, Liam's new brain scan. The Bold and the Beautiful recap is finally here for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Fans can expect Ridge Forrester to get suspicious. Carter Walton is confused by Hope Logan's mixed messages. Plus, Liam Spencer updates Steffi Forrester Finnegan about his latest brain scan. Ridge Forrester blindsided. In the CEO office at Forrester Creations, Ridge walks in, stunned to see Hope standing there with Brooke Logan. Brooke immediately tells him that Hope was rehired. Ridge says this is the first he's heard of this, but he isn't mean about it. Ridge is curious for an explanation, though. Hope says that she and Steffi don't want to waste any more time fighting. Hope then admits it was wrong to do the takeover. Hope would like to try to regain Ridge's trust. He likes that she's suddenly self-aware. Brooke mentions that Carter should know Hope is back. Mystery and suspicion. After Hope leaves to see Carter, Brooke and Ridge talk. The blonde thanks Ridge for his support. Ridge thinks the credit should go to Steffi. However, Ridge wonders why now, what happened to change things overnight. Liam Spencer's bombshell. At the Cliff House, John Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, and Steffi talk about Liam's brain scan. Finn doesn't have a chance to tell her he already knows it's not good news. Liam walks in and explains he's still a dead man walking. Liam doesn't want everyone to be sad. He doesn't want his daughters to be sad. Steffi says they'll get through this. Steffi tells Liam that she and Hope have mended their relationship, and it's all because of him. Finn is so proud of Steffi. The brunette gives the credit to Liam. Finn suddenly gets a text message. It's Grace Buckingham, Cassandra Creech, who wants to consult with Liam. Grace just got an update from the neurologist team. Hope Logan explains. Over at the loft, Hope meets with Carter. The COO asks if there's anything she wants to confess about Liam. Carter loves her so much. Daphne Rose is convinced Hope will just break his heart. He has faith in their future, but he overheard what she said to Liam. Carter is angry that she told Liam her heart without even telling him. He feels like such a fool. Hope says he's not a fool, he's the man she wants to be with. Carter looks totally confused as Hope gets ready to explain. Is Hope using Carter as a backup plan after Liam's rejection? B&B spoilers, Carter is left confused when Hope suddenly declares he's the right man for her, but her body language tells a different story. Is this Hope's pattern of avoiding loneliness? Hope's mixed signals leave Carter questioning everything on B&B. Talk about emotional whiplash. Poor Carter Walton is probably getting neck strain from Hope Logan's wild pendulum swings between wanting him and pining for her ex. Just days after literally begging Liam Spencer to take her back, Hope pulled a complete 180 on Tuesday's episode, assuring Carter that he's the right man for her. But is she being honest with him, or even with herself? The revolving door of Hope's heart. Let's get real for a second. Hope's romantic compass has been spinning wildly since she ended things with Liam. First, she dove headfirst into that steamy affair with Thomas Forrester, and who could blame her? Have you seen Matthew Atkinson lately? Only to crush the poor guy's heart when commitment came calling. Then, and this still makes my jaw drop, she set her sights on her ex-stepsister's husband, Finn. Talk about forbidden fruit. When that fantasy fizzled, Carter revealed his feelings, and suddenly Hope saw her longtime friend in a whole new light. But here's what I can't wrap my head around. Last week, Hope was practically clinging to Liam like a life raft in a storm. She confessed her undying love and begged, yes, begged, him to take her back. The desperation was palpable. But Liam wasn't buying what she was selling. He told her point blank that the spark was gone from her eyes when she looked at him. Carter deserves better than being second choice. Tuesday's episode had me screaming at my TV, sorry, neighbors. Hope bounced in all excited about getting her job back at Forrester Creations, great news, sure. But Carter couldn't let the elephant in the room go unaddressed. He confronted her about overhearing her desperate pleas to Liam. And what did Hope do? She looked him straight in the eyes and assured him that he was the right man for her, that he had always been that man. Excuse me? Always? Girl, we've all been watching you pine for other men for months. Lawrence St. Victor absolutely nailed Carter's confusion in that moment. The poor man looked like someone had just recited the alphabet backward while standing on their head. Total bewilderment, and honestly, same. The hug that said it all. Body language never lies, folks. When Hope hugged Carter, that uncertainty was written all over her face. It gave me flashbacks to when she couldn't fully commit to Thomas. Some things never change. The pattern is becoming painfully obvious. Hope seems terrified of being alone. After Liam's rejection, she ran straight back to the safety of Carter's arms, not because she's madly in love with him, but because he's her security blanket. It's the romantic equivalent of ordering pizza when the fancy restaurant you wanted is fully booked. Could Daphne be Carter's silver lining? Here's my prediction: Carter's not going to be fooled for long. He's too smart, too observant, and frankly, he's been burned too many times before. Remember the Quinn affair? The man has trust issues for days. If Hope keeps playing this game, she's going to push him right into Daphne's waiting arms. And maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing? Carter deserves someone who chooses him first, not as a consolation prize after being rejected by someone else. What do you think? Is Hope genuinely trying to move on with Carter, or is she just afraid of being alone? Could this actually become the great love story we never saw coming, or is it destined for disaster? I'm putting my money on Carter waking up to reality sooner rather than later. Ridge Forrester and Carter Walton both find themselves at a boiling point, driven by their respective entanglements with Hope Logan. While their motivations are vastly different, both men are united in one thing: demanding answers. Ridge, the patriarch and ever-vigilant guardian of the Forrester legacy, senses emotional unrest brewing at Forrester Creations and in his family. Carter, on the other hand, is driven by heartbreak, confusion, and an aching need for clarity about where he stands with Hope now that Liam's terminal diagnosis has changed everything. Ridge is noticing Hope's distracted demeanor at work, her increasingly private conversations with Liam, and Steffi's unusual silence on the matter, and it sends up all sorts of red flags. Meanwhile, Carter is spiraling as he watches the woman he thought might finally love him back gravitate once again toward a man who has historically broken her heart time and time again. Ridge's demand for answers comes from a place of familial concern. He doesn't want Hope to cause more damage to Steffi or their company, and he fears history is repeating itself. Carter's demand is rooted in emotional devastation. He let himself believe Hope had moved on from Liam and was ready for a fresh start, perhaps even with him, but her actions since Liam's health news tell a different story. In a heated confrontation that stuns viewers, Ridge corners Hope in the executive office. "Hope, I need you to level with me," he begins, his voice low and firm, the kind of tone that signals he's not letting this go. "What's going on with you and Liam? And why does Steffi look like she's holding back a storm every time I ask?" Hope, caught off guard, tries to deflect with vague references to stress and workload, but Ridge isn't buying it. He's been through too many emotional upheavals with Brooke, Taylor, and his children to miss the signs. At the same time, Carter walks in, unaware that Ridge is already interrogating Hope. His presence shifts the dynamic immediately. He doesn't wait for an opening. "I need to know where I stand with you," he says, his voice cracking ever so slightly. "You told me you wanted something real. Was that all just comfort? Or did it mean something to you?" Hope's expression changes. Now she's surrounded by two powerful men, both demanding emotional transparency, something she herself hasn't yet sorted out. Caught between loyalty, love, and a rapidly unraveling reality, Hope breaks down. She admits Liam's diagnosis has shaken her to her core, and that she's not sure what her heart wants anymore. She confesses that while her relationship with Carter felt safe and genuine, the news about Liam being terminal awakened a different kind of devotion in her, a tragic, nostalgic, overwhelming connection that she thought she had buried. Ridge listens carefully, his expression unreadable. He's not here to judge Hope for her emotions, but he is concerned about how this triangle is affecting the people he loves, especially Steffi. Carter, on the other hand, feels every word like a blow. "So I was just a placeholder?" he asks, stunned. "A pit stop on the way back to Liam?" Hope tries to explain that it's not that simple. She truly cares for Carter. But how does one measure love in the shadow of death? Ridge then turns his attention to Carter. "I've known you a long time. You're a good man, but maybe Hope isn't in the place to give you what you need. Maybe she never was." The comment stings Carter, but he knows there's truth in it. This leads to one of the most emotional moments in the series in recent months, Carter finally confronting not just Hope, but himself. He admits that he may have projected his need for a stable relationship onto Hope, ignoring the obvious signs that her heart was still entangled with Liam. "I thought I could help you move on," he says quietly. "But maybe I was just helping myself believe I wasn't alone." As the scene progresses, the weight of all their decisions starts to settle in. Hope acknowledges that she's been unfair to Carter, even unintentionally. She also admits to Ridge that she's trying to prepare herself for losing Liam, and that it's changing everything she thought she knew about her heart. Ridge, ever the father figure, urges her to be honest, not just with Carter or Liam, but with herself. "You need to decide who you are without Liam in your life," he says. "Because making promises you can't keep only creates more pain." Meanwhile, Carter leaves the room quietly, emotionally wrecked but perhaps wiser. He realizes now that love isn't about waiting in the wings, hoping someone will choose you. It's about knowing when to let go. Outside the office, Steffi is seen watching quietly, having heard parts of the conversation. Her expression is a mixture of sadness and resolve. She knows that whatever happens next will define not just Hope's future, but all of theirs. She walks away with a sense of finality, perhaps preparing to make her own decisions about Liam, about Hope, and about what it means to live with dignity in the face of loss. In the aftermath, Ridge and Hope sit quietly. He shares a memory of how his own father, Eric, once told him that love isn't always about choosing, it's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. "If Liam is dying," Ridge says, "then he deserves the truth. And so do you." It's a touching moment that offers no easy answers, only the quiet recognition that love, grief, and human connection are impossibly tangled threads that everyone on the show is trying to unravel. The episode ends with Hope alone, standing at the Forrester Creations window, looking out over the LA skyline. Her reflection stares back at her as she whispers, "What do I do now?" It's a haunting question that fans everywhere will be asking too. With Ridge and Carter both demanding the truth for different reasons, Hope is left at a crossroads. Will she continue to walk a path of comfort, clinging to memories with Liam until his final days? Or will she step into the unknown, give Carter the love he longs for, and start anew? One thing is certain, answers won't come easy, and the consequences will ripple through every corner of the Forrester world. Hope Logan's tangled emotional state, and at the center of it is a man who once promised to be her fresh start, Carter Walton. But as Carter continues to wear his heart on his sleeve and invest in a future he believes is within reach, viewers are left wondering, is Hope genuinely torn, or is she leading Carter on, and if so, why? The answer isn't straightforward, because Hope's journey has been a whirlwind of loss, confusion, self-discovery, and emotional whiplash, most of which began spiraling out of control when Liam Spencer was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. Up until that tragic news, Hope seemed genuinely open to a new chapter with Carter. She was showing signs of wanting a love life free of her toxic past with Liam. She found comfort in Carter's honesty, his unwavering presence, and the fact that he wasn't weighed down by years of betrayal. But the second Liam's mortality came into the equation, it was like Hope reverted back to her old self, the version who prioritizes others' needs and can't let go of the ghost of the love that shaped her for so long. Carter, unfortunately, has become the collateral damage in this emotional tug-of-war, and the bigger question becomes, does Hope realize what she's doing, or is this just another example of her being swept up in circumstances? Hope is someone who has always tried to lead with compassion, but in doing so, she often loses sight of how her actions affect others. That pattern is playing out again with Carter. It's not that she doesn't care about him, she clearly does. She finds comfort in him, appreciates his patience, and is drawn to his steady demeanor. But her affection seems conditional, circumstantial, and perhaps unintentionally manipulative. Every time Carter tries to define the relationship, Hope sidesteps the conversation. She'll say she needs time or that things are complicated, and Carter, because he loves her, backs off. But how many times can someone back off before realizing they were never truly on solid ground to begin with? There's an unspoken promise between Hope and Carter, one that suggests they could have a future together if the stars align. And that hope, no pun intended, is what keeps Carter emotionally tethered. Even when the writing on the wall is clear, Hope is emotionally unavailable. And yet, she keeps drawing him in. Why? Part of the answer lies in Hope's identity. For years, she's been defined by her relationship with Liam, by the love triangle with Steffi, by being the good one, and by always having to fight for her place. When she was with Carter, things felt easy. No drama, no triangle, no games. But in a twisted way, that may have made it harder for Hope to see him as a forever partner. The chaos with Liam, as damaging as it was, gave Hope's life structure. It was familiar. Carter represents something foreign to her, a peaceful relationship, one grounded in mutual respect and adult communication. And that kind of stability can be terrifying to someone who's only known love through turbulence. So while she may not consciously be leading Carter on, she is absolutely using him as emotional support while her heart remains deeply entangled with a man who may not even survive. It's grief. It's fear. It's habit. But it's also unfair. Another reason Hope might be clinging to Carter emotionally without truly committing is the security he provides. Liam's condition has thrown her world into chaos. There's a looming sense of loss, and Carter is the safety net beneath that emotional freefall. He's not just a potential partner, he's her support system, someone who will always be there. And that's comforting. But Carter isn't just a blanket to be pulled over her when things get cold. He's a man with his own desires, his own need for reciprocated love, and Hope's inability, or unwillingness, to give him a clear answer is starting to feel cruel. He's stuck in limbo, forced to interpret breadcrumbs of affection as signs of deeper love. A touch here, a longing glance there, a moment of vulnerability. But it's all undefined. And Hope knows this. Which is why viewers are beginning to question whether she's being intentionally ambiguous to keep Carter close while she emotionally navigates Liam's illness. The situation gets more complicated when you factor in Brooke and Ridge. Brooke, Hope's mother, sees Carter as a stable choice and someone who can finally give Hope the life she deserves. Ridge, who has known Carter for years and has been burned by romantic entanglements himself, is starting to question whether Carter is setting himself up for heartache. There's even tension building between Ridge and Carter as both men, for very different reasons, want answers from Hope. That external pressure only complicates things further, making it harder for Hope to follow her own heart, even if she knew where it was pointing. But at the center of all this chaos is Carter, a man who has already had his heart broken by Quinn, Zoe, Katie, and now Hope seems poised to join the list. Viewers are starting to ask, how much more can he take? In some ways, Hope's actions mirror those of Liam himself, someone she once criticized for waffling between women and not making clear decisions. Now, with the roles reversed, Hope is the one emotionally torn, unable to let go of Liam while stringing along someone else. The irony is not lost on fans. The very behavior that caused her so much pain is now the one she's engaging in. And that leads us to one more unsettling possibility. Maybe Hope is leading Carter on because she doesn't know who she is without Liam. Maybe Carter represents a future she doesn't believe she deserves yet, or one she's not ready to accept. And in the meantime, she's unintentionally using his love and patience as a cushion. So, what's the solution? Ideally, Hope would have an honest conversation with Carter and clearly define what they are, or are not. She would acknowledge that her emotions are in flux and that while she appreciates him deeply, she's not in a position to offer him the love he deserves. That would allow Carter the freedom to heal and move forward, whether that's alone or with someone who sees him as their first choice, not their backup plan. But given how the bold and the beautiful operates, it's more likely that this triangle will stretch out further, with emotional landmines planted along the way. If Hope does continue to lead Carter on, knowingly or not, she risks losing not only his love but the respect of viewers who've long rooted for her to grow beyond her past. In the end, Hope Logan is not a villain, she's a flawed, complex woman trying to navigate love, loss, and identity. But in doing so, she's causing real pain to someone who's only ever wanted to give her everything. So, is she leading Carter on? Perhaps not maliciously. But emotionally? Absolutely. And unless something changes, the damage might be irreversible. Liam Spencer found himself once again at the emotional center of a storm he never wanted to face. The day began with hope, or the illusion of it, as Liam anxiously awaited the results of his latest scan, clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, the universe would grant him a miracle. For weeks, viewers have watched Liam unravel beneath the weight of his diagnosis, a rare brain tumor that no one saw coming, with doctors cautiously optimistic, but never definitive. The silence in the waiting room at University Hospital was deafening as Hope sat by Liam's side, her fingers intertwined with his, offering a false sense of control while her eyes betrayed the anxiety boiling beneath the surface. Finn arrived with a grave expression, the kind that gave away everything before a single word was uttered. And just like that, the mood shifted from anxious hope to gut-wrenching despair, as Finn confirmed what Liam had feared in the deepest corners of his heart: the tumor had not shrunk, and worse, the growth had progressed more aggressively than they had anticipated. Liam's world tilted on its axis. This wasn't just disappointing news, it was devastating, life-altering, and final in a way that sucked the air from the room. Hope gasped softly, trying not to cry, while Liam remained frozen, his lips parted as if he were trying to find the right response, the right way to mask the terror surging within him. He wanted to be strong, for Hope, for his kids, for his father, but the gravity of mortality hit him like a freight train. Meanwhile, the ripple effects of Liam's prognosis began to cascade through Los Angeles. At Forrester Creations, Steffi sensed something was off before she even got the call. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone, bracing herself, knowing that no call from Finn in the middle of a design meeting could mean anything good. And when she heard the words aggressive progression, her eyes immediately filled with tears. Steffi had fought so long to emotionally detach herself from Liam, to let go of the history, the heartbreak, and the dreams that never came true. But love doesn't disappear on command, and in that moment, she felt the weight of everything they'd been through together, every moment that made him more than just the father of her daughter. She rushed to the hospital, her mind spinning with all the things she'd never said, all the anger she'd let fester, and all the time they might not have left. Back at the hospital, Liam struggled to mask his emotions in front of his family. His father, Bill, walked in with a confidence he didn't feel, trying to put a brave face on the worst news a father can hear. But even Bill's bravado cracked when he saw the pain in his son's eyes. For once, there were no lectures, no motivational speeches, just a silent hand on Liam's shoulder, the kind of gesture that said more than any words ever could. And while Liam's health hung in the balance, the emotional stakes soared. Hope, still in shock, stepped into the hallway and made a private call to her mother, Brooke. She needed strength, she needed grounding, and she knew she couldn't do this alone. Brooke, having just emerged from her own spiral of self-pity over Ridge and the current chaos in their family, immediately dropped everything and arrived at the hospital to support her daughter. Their reunion was filled with unspoken understanding, and for once, Brooke offered comfort without condition. Back in Liam's room, the man himself began to process the news, not just intellectually, but emotionally. This wasn't just about his own fear, it was about legacy, about the people he would leave behind, and the choices he still had to make with the time he had. He looked to Hope, who was trying so hard to stay strong, and then to Steffi, who had quietly entered the room and now stood beside the hospital bed with tears in her eyes. It was a full-circle moment, one where the three of them were no longer entangled in rivalry or romantic confusion, but united by heartbreak and impending loss. Outside the room, things got even more complicated. Carter Walton, who had quietly nurtured feelings for Hope and believed a future with her was possible, arrived just in time to overhear Brooke saying something cryptic about Hope needing to be there for Liam, no matter what that means. Carter's face fell, not because he didn't understand the gravity of Liam's situation, but because he knew what that implied, Hope might be emotionally retreating from the relationship they were building. He walked away before Hope saw him, heartbroken, but not angry. Just defeated. Elsewhere, Ridge and Taylor, who had come together in recent days to support their children, found themselves arguing over Steffi's role in all of this. Taylor felt that Steffi needed closure with Liam. Ridge believed Steffi was setting herself up for emotional collapse. Neither could agree on what was best, but both were united in their concern for their daughter. And in true Forrester fashion, even in crisis, family tensions boiled just beneath the surface. The entire city seemed to pause as word spread about Liam's condition. Katie and Donna cancelled meetings, Zend and Paris postponed fittings, and even Sheila, from her prison cell, seemed to react to the news when it was mentioned by a guard. This was more than a plot twist, this was a turning point. And at the center of it was Liam, the man who had once been criticized for waffling between two women, now reduced to a fragile patient lying in a hospital bed, trying to hold on to dignity, love, and time. As the day drew to a close, the hospital room dimmed with the setting sun, and Liam made a quiet request to Hope and Steffi. He wanted them to put the past behind them, not just for his sake, but for the sake of their children and the future they all still had to protect. It was a rare moment of clarity, one where personal pain gave way to selfless wisdom. And as Hope and Steffi held each other's gaze, both women seemed to silently agree that whatever came next, they would face it together.